Apparently, guys, Gen Z is now considered the loneliest generation. 60% of Gen Z says that they are lonely. Would you buy that?
Well, yeah.
Would you buy that?
Sure.
I mean, the first thing I thought when I saw it was like, that makes perfect sense. So this is what it says. With remote work and social media dominating so much of our lives these days, the impact on this generation's mental health and relationships is starting to be seen more clearly. I would argue that you could actually make that argument too, that the pandemic did that for a lot of
it didn't help.
It didn't help for them. This is especially true of Gen Z adults, where a new report found that 60% of adults between the ages of 18 and 24 report feelings of loneliness, but it's not just young adults. More broadly, the study found that 40% of all adults regularly go at least 3 days without a meaningful face-to-face interaction at all. I buy that 110%.
Yeah.
I mean, like when I'm not doing stuff here, like there would be no reason or there'd be no problem with me going multiple days without seeing someone else.
Like
or especially like when I was living exclusively in New Hampshire, that was part of the reason why I was like, I should go down there, because like I was like, the band wasn't doing anything because of like COVID and stuff, and we were trying to get a record written and stuff, and I was like, all I'm doing is sitting around on my butt doing nothing. I'm never hanging out with anybody, So I mean, there's a lot of reasons to come down here and for the time that I am, but like it's very normal, I think, for people to have become so used to using the internet to interact with people. They don't do a face-to-face interaction for, days at a time.
Yeah, like I'm the same way. Like I can go days, but it's never really bothered me. I've kind of always been that way. I'm more insular.
Same.
Like that's just the way I am.
I mean, I chose to move to kind of the woods where I have that kind of option of being isolated if I want. But.
Does it bother you going like days with, like, I mean, you're married, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, it's a little different. Back when I was at home in California, not really, because I had all my friends and family around, so like I knew they were close by. It sucked when we moved because I didn't know anybody out here. I just barely was meeting you guys here, and it, kind of like what I was talking about before the show, the winter blues. I was just, man, that was a rough time.
So yeah, as somebody from California, and you're just realizing what it's like to live somewhere with seasons, and that sitting when it gets dark really soon. Yeah, it's cold.
Yeah, freezing.
It zaps your. Well, I mean, everyone's definition of freezing is different, but it zaps your desire to do anything.
No. Freezing is when water freezes.
Freezing in the colloquial, not freezing as in when the water actually freezes.
This is my truth.
Yes.
Okay.
32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius. That's it.
I love when you have to explain to people. I was watching some show the other day where they're explaining to you like, oh, it was really cold. I thought it was going to snow. And then you have to, if you're from the Midwest, you have to explain that it doesn't snow when it's really cold. It actually snows when you're closer to 30 degrees and stuff like that. It says, but even in social settings, people are having a hard time. 28% reported feeling lonely while attending a social event, and a quarter feel isolated in their workplace. I remember when everybody was getting mad, especially Gen Z was getting mad when when businesses started going back away from remote work and telling them that they had to come back to the office. This was a very big thing at Disney when they're like, Bob Iger got back after Bob Chapek was like, all right, guys, you got to come back into the office. And to them, it makes sense. A lot of people were saying that for like a company like Disney, when they were trying to make animated movies, distance work was like damaging to the creative process.
Yes.
It's very hard. Even if your job can be done at home, it doesn't mean that the collaboration with fellow employees would work.
100%. So I'm just finished writing a record, and a lot of it was done remotely. I decided that I didn't want to do the lyrics like that.
Yeah.
So I went to LA and I worked with our producer to get that stuff done. And me and him can knock out a song in a day. No problem. Write a whole song, get all the ideas done, and then maybe I'll track some of it, because sometimes we'll track as we're coming up with ideas. Yeah. Sometimes I'll track, or sometimes I'll just demo it. Sometimes if I get if it's something that I feel good about, it'd be like, all right, those are good, But when I'm there with Josh Wilbur, our producer, we can knock a lot of stuff out real fast. If I'm trying to send ideas back and forth, you send it, then what's he doing? Is he in front of the computer, or is he in the house, or is he at the studio? Am I driving somewhere when I get an idea? Can I listen to the new mix right now, or do I have to wait until, it's like all that stuff matters. All that kind of stuff happens. And additionally, you see that when it comes to like writing music and stuff like that. If you can do it all yourself, it's fine. But if you're trying to collaborating over email is difficult, and there is a learning curve. And I can understand why companies are like, we want to bring people here.
You could tell, like in music, when bands will write stuff remote and they come together later on. Like just off the top of my head, Blink-182 Neighborhoods. It's a good album. I didn't like it at first, but yeah, you could definitely feel it. Just they don't feel as connected as they do on other albums.
On the social level, I think part of it is that phones these days are just making people lonely. You're connected with all of these people, but you're not actually connecting with them because digital communication and digital togetherness is not the same thing as physically experiencing it in the real world. In a lot of ways. And a lack of community and shared beliefs. Like I imagine for a lot of them, like we talk a lot about the polarization of society. People are pulling away from religion, getting away from all of these things. And I think back in the day, when you had things like that comforted you, it was a lot easier to go through bouts of loneliness, right? I was looking at this article where they were talking about Gen Z in the workforce. And they're like, why would I want to go work for a corporation just to make this billionaire more money? I'm like,
literally to get out of your house because you'll be suicidal if you don't.
But I was like back in this, like, well, it was also because you had a family and you had to pay for your kids to have clothes and food and stuff like that. But for a lot of it, it's like, look, the internet is great, but it's not a substitute for real world connection at the macro level, right? Like you have to get out sometimes, otherwise you're going to be depressed. And even here they're talking about how basically, I love this one, this completely arbitrary. Dr. Vivek Murthy, the U.S. Surgeon General, reported that loneliness is as deadly apparently as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. How the hell did you come up with that number?
I don't buy it at all. If it was, it just makes me want to smoke more.
saying, why is everyone lonely? They're claiming that people apparently still believe that there's a stigma around talking about it. I don't know if I believe that in this day and age, in the age where everyone talks about mental health.
There is no stigma. It's just that if you say there is a stigma, then people will give you more attention.
Yes. It says, if everyone's feeling lonely, why aren't they changing that? Part of the problem stems from the hesitation to even talk about it. Only 14% of respondents said they often talk to others about their lonely feelings, while 62% believe there is still a stigma around the issue. I don't know if I buy that that's still a thing in this day and age.
No.
There's a $20 super chat here from $27.99 in Canadian, very pleasant and kind money, apparently. Very polite money. From Dave Gazuli, says, Phil, you sweet summer child. You should take a trip to northern Canada in January. 32 is t-shirt weather. Negative 60 is freezing. Love you guys.
Listen, I mean, I understand that there are places that are colder.
He was being specific, and I was ragging on him for being specific while I was being facetious.
Generally, yes.
More general. I just thought this was interesting because to me, like when Mary's turn, we talk about Gen Z. A lot of it is it's prevailing feels of loneliness, and a lot of it comes back to kind of a haphazard like despair about the future of the country. And millennials certainly feel that too. With millennials, it tends to be about home ownership and stuff like that, and the fact that they're never going to own a home and things like that.
A lot of the things that so there is not a significant problem if you're dealing with poverty on an absolute level, right?
Yeah.
So if your society is poor, people don't worry about money. It's when you have
wealth inequality.
Yep. So like most of the problems that Gen Z is expressing really are about the inequality. Because very few people are actually hungry. There are people that are going to make TikToks, sure, because it gets them attention. There are people that are going to say things that get them attention. There are people that are hypochondriacs and dramatic and blah, blah, blah. Yes, but actual hunger. Actual people that don't have a place. A lot of people are homeless in their car because they feel like they don't want to deal with their parents, and they'll go ahead and, they'll if they really wanted to go home, they could. If they really wanted to.
It's always easier when you have something to fall back.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy to go ahead and live in your car for 2-3 weeks a month when you have your phone and everything still works, and then you straighten whatever. And it's not everybody. There are people that are actually hard on their that are in really rough spots, but there's a lot of people that are out there using the internet for a reason to get attention, get people to feel bad for them, possibly get financial support or whatever. When they don't have real problems, they have first world problems.
What's funny is there was a show in the early 2000s called Dark Angel, which is it was Jessica Alba's like first big role, James Cameron show, and it's about Seattle after an EMP attack essentially destroys society. And what they're talking about it is they're saying like, look. There is a lot of talk about class warfare in there because the guy that she's working with in the show, he's actually like somebody who's born into money, who's also a vigilante, like freedom, like he wants to disclose all the information and all the evil people in society. So he's
the evil people.
He's the evil people, but he's also a good guy, right? Of course, there's a shot of him wearing a Che Guevara shirt because that's how you showed a rebel back in the 2000s. But the point is, there's a scene at the very beginning where she's biking through ostensibly a tent town. And she says, I don't get why they call it depression. Yeah, everyone's broke, but nobody's really all that depressed because they were all around, at that time, there was shared environment where everybody was coming together under hard times to deal with it together.
Yep.
Shared community. And that's just something that I feel like phones separate you from that because digital communities just aren't the same. There was this thing about Gen Zers ghosting employers, which I got a huge kick out of. It says, a recent survey from the employment website found that 75% of 1,500 UK workers polled have ignored a prospective employer in the last 12 months. Gen Z reported the worst behavior. Once applied, an astonishing 93% of Gen Zers confessed to not showing up for an interview, and 87% saying they didn't even bother coming to the first day of work. God.
I experienced that.
Did you?
At my old job, yeah, you just have young people like get the job, not show up, just completely leave. It was so weird to me.
Yeah. Gen Z's audacity to ghost potential employers comes as many employees admit to being too scared to take a lunch or vacation days for fear of being fired or laid off, which is why I'm working on getting somebody to like help me do this job so I can take a day off every once in a while. As such, older generations acknowledge that ghosting in the workplace just less often and with regrets. Millennials are the most likely to feel anxious about ghosting and worry that it will negatively affect future job opportunities.
Yep.
But Gen Zers who ghosted their potential employers, especially on the first day, confessed that they did so to feel in charge of their career. So it's literally skip work to establish dominance.
Can't relate.
It makes no sense to me. But this is the even funnier part is the end of this article. It's clear that the financial offer is the biggest carrot for employers to try and attract talent, with pay benefits and other factors that support rising cost of living likely to prevent a job seeker from ghosting. Of course, if you pay them more, they'll show up.
Sure.
Of course, not all businesses will be in the position to offer that, but being transparent about financial packages from the outset is likely to prevent job seekers from ghosting further along the hiring process. Yeah, you don't want to hear that like you could make up to this much and then not make that much. But this is the best part. Young adults in the job hunt say that they are being forced to reject roles because they can't afford the expenses associated with starting the job, like wardrobe upgrade and transportation. Transportation makes sense. Wardrobe upgrade, I don't know.
Look, you can find clothes that are acceptable to wear to work to start out at Walmart for very inexpensive.
You want to hear
that is again,
yes.
this is a problem. This is not a problem about absolute poverty. This is I want to wear nice things to work. I want to wear things that other people on Instagram are advertising, that I see people making YouTube videos about and stuff. That's all that it is.
You want to hear what the deal breakers were for Gen Z in the workplace?
Sure.
Here are the deal breakers. A high ratio of white cis men.
Oh God!
Shut
up! Racism, just straight up racism.
Set days required in the office and not getting their own office.
Unbelievable.
They're terrorists. They're terrorists.
No, well, they're literally making sure that AI and automation is going to take their job. And you hear people talk about the fact that there are so many socialists and stuff like that in Gen Z and stuff like that. The ones that are without fail, they're the lazy ones that want the fully automated luxury space communism. That's what they're thinking. They're not thinking workers are going to get out there and work for fair wages and blah, blah, blah. They're literally thinking, I don't want to work at all. We're at the point where everything should be automated. If the stupid corporations just got off their butt and finished making the machines that are going to work and do everything for us, then we wouldn't have to go to work. That's the attitude.
Yeah.
And it's insane, but that's the attitude.
The funny thing is we got a $20 one here from Demo. It says, boys. Stoked for the new album, Phil. Get the
Cheers,
black
man.
trucker jacket from Blue Owl Workshop because become a denim head. Jump down the rabbit hole.
I like.
You are a denim head.
I do. I have some nice selvage jeans on right now, but I'm not getting the trucker jacket yet. I might wait until the fall because it's summer coming. You know.
I just I look at all this stuff and I just laugh because for the workplace I never wanted to miss work. I never liked missing work unless I like.
You don't get paid.
When I would that's the thing, right? Like I was not like most of my jobs I wasn't salary, so if I didn't work I didn't get paid,
Yep.
and that's a problem when you're trying to make rent, stuff like that. So sorry guys, we can't help how many white dudes are hired at a job. So.
It does. It really impresses me that just straight up racism is why. Like straight up, I don't like white guys.
I mean, technically, if this was in Scotland, they should be punished.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. God, unreal.
The other thing I was going to say is like this was showing up in Hollywood too. So there was all these things coming out on Film Thread about these people that were getting jobs in the industry that were, diversity hires, talking about like, I've been working here for 2 years. Why am I not a showrunner already? Well, a showrunner has 20 years experience in the business, right? They're not something, you don't just show up one day and get put in charge of a multi-million-dollar show.
This is another problem with a society that's not merit based. They think that merit is irrelevant. So they think that anyone can do any job. Just put a person there and the job will get done. The person doing it, they behave as if that doesn't matter. And that is not the way the world works. That is not the way the world works at all. Like, there are people that think whoever was in Churchill's position would have been Churchill. And that is not the truth at all. Not like whoever was in Hitler's place was not going to be Hitler. Like, that's just not the case.
Yeah.
So it's a ridiculous idea, and it should be left in the dustbin of history.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.